And we are back. Your man Diamond K in here, of course. RadioOnFire.com, TheDiamondKShow.com. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in what is a pretty major announcement. The government, states, are suing Facebook for predatory conduct. This is something that is not a surprise. I think that we are well aware of the behavior of a giant like Facebook. So the government and 48 states, districts suing Facebook today, accusing it of abusing its power. They're accusing it of abusing its power in the marketplace, crushing smaller competitors on the social networks, seeking remedies that could include a forced spinoff of the social networks, Instagram and WhatsApp messaging services. Well, this is big. This is the Attorney General of New York.
For nearly a decade, Facebook has used its dominance and monopoly power to crush small rivals and snuff out competition, all at the expense of everyday users. By using its vast troves of data and money, Facebook has squashed or hindered what the company perceived as potential threats. They've reduced choices for consumers. They stifled innovation. And they degraded privacy protections for millions of Americans. In an effort to maintain its market dominance in social networking, Facebook has employed a buy or bury strategy to impede competing services. First, Facebook used vast amounts of money to acquire smaller rivals and potential rivals before they could threaten the company's dominance.
So this landmark antitrust lawsuit announced by the Federal Trade Commission and the New York Attorney General, Tish James, marks the second major government offensive this year against these large tech giant companies. The Justice Department also sued Google in October for abusing its dominance in online search and advertising, search engine, that whole thing. So the government's most significant attempt to make things fair was a historic case against Microsoft. That was like 20 years ago. But Amazon and Apple have also been under investigation by Congress and the feds for alleged anti-competitive conduct. What does that mean, though? Like, Facebook normally squashes companies coming up. They'll steal their features if they don't sell the company, and then they just squash it out, right? A lot of Instagram dealt with this. Instagram used to be owned by other people, and Facebook was just constantly beating down on them, stealing the features that made you want to go there. Snapchat's dealing with that. This is something that is needed. I mean, you want things to be fair, and you don't want some big company just taking advantage of the small companies. Government has the right to break up things. This happened before any of us were born, but with the oil barons, and they broke up Standard Oil. And a lot of times you will see when the government does not understand what's going on, and they constantly hear the complaints of people, and eventually they look at these things. But usually it's well after the major damage has been done. Facebook is calling this revisionist history. They're saying that they're changing things after the fact, the government, and that it is punishing or attempting to punish a successful business, and noted that the Federal Trade Commission cleared the Instagram and WhatsApp acquisitions years ago. They Facebook bought Instagram back in 2012, bought WhatsApp in 2014. Some people didn't even know that they owned WhatsApp, but they do, Facebook. So Facebook is saying that it was good a couple years ago. Now y'all trying to do it over. No take backsies. Facebook is saying no take backsies. Right? They said that the government is trying to send a warning, a chilling warning to American businesses that no sale is ever final. I think that one thing that Facebook's attorneys need to look at is that if you misrepresent something in the sale, there are penalties, right? There are penalties. But they're trying to, Facebook's attorneys are trying to present this as, oh no, we hid this, but it's okay. No, you said it was okay to buy, so it's okay. That's what Facebook wants you to believe. Let's go back to Attorney General Tish James and hear more about this lawsuit against Facebook.
I'll say billions were thrown at smaller companies in an effort to get them to sell. The two most glaring examples of this unlawful scheme were Instagram and WhatsApp. Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion in 2012, when the company did not even have a cent in revenue. And in 2014, Facebook paid the extravagant amount of $19 billion for WhatsApp, which was far more than industry experts and even Facebook itself value the company. The second and just as harmful anti-competitive strategy Facebook utilized was suffocating and squashing third-party developers that were invited to utilize Facebook's platform. Facebook would try to squeeze every bit of oxygen out of the room for smaller companies that refused to be bought. Facebook used an open first, close later strategy to stop competitive threats, where it would first open its platform to apps created by third-party developers. This increased functionality on the site and subsequently increased the number of users on Facebook. And then Facebook abruptly cut off apps it viewed as a competitive threat. Some of these companies experienced almost overnight drop-off in user engagement and downloads, and their growth stalled. They also sent a clear message to the industry. Don't step on Facebook's turf. Or as one industry executive put it, you will face the wrath of Mark, referring to Facebook founder, CEO, chairman, and controlling shareholder, Mark Zuckerberg. This combination has allowed Facebook to maintain its monopoly over the social networking market and make billions from advertising. And today, more than half of all American adults log on to Facebook every day. New Yorkers throughout our state and consumers across this nation use Facebook to stay in touch with friends and family. They share content and have conversations. They post pictures and videos. And with the ongoing pandemic, many use Facebook as a critical place for social engagement. But while consumers have been spending their time keeping in touch on Facebook, Facebook has been spending its time surveilling users' personal information and profiting from it. No company should have this much unchecked power over our personal information and our social interactions. And that's why we are taking action today and standing up for the millions of consumers and many small businesses that have been harmed by Facebook's illegal behavior. And so we are asking the court to halt Facebook's anti-competitive conduct and block the company from continuing this behavior in the future, as well as provide any additional relief it determines is appropriate. By restoring competition, our lawsuit will help consumers have alternatives to Facebook and that they can vote with their feet when Facebook puts profits ahead of consumers' welfare and privacy. I'd like to thank the 47 other attorneys general that has joined this lawsuit, and almost every state in this nation has joined this bipartisan lawsuit because Facebook's efforts to dominate the market were as illegal as they were harmful. I'd also like to thank our colleagues and friends at the Federal Trade Commission for their collaboration. The FTC filed their own lawsuit against Facebook today as well, and we look forward to collaborating with them in the litigation process. As I've said before, we cannot let large corporations gain more and more power over our lives through anti-competitive practices that only serve their interest and undermine the competitive spirit of our nation and the spirit of our economy and cause harm to consumers. This action is part of a renewed focus by my office and other state attorney generals on antitrust enforcement and the harms caused to consumers and the economy when market power is unchecked and unregulated. Today, we are sending a clear and a strong message to Facebook and every other company that any efforts to stifle competition and hurt small businesses, reduce innovation and creativity, cut pricey protections, privacy protections will be met with the full force of our offices. Again, I want to thank Chief Deputy Attorney General for Economic Justice Christy Angelo and Antitrust Bureau Chief Eleanor Hoffman, as well as Assistant Attorney General Johanna Zick, and Assistant Attorney General Zach Bezon, who were the lead attorneys on this matter. They were joined by a dedicated team of attorneys, legal assistants, economists, and analysts, including Assistant Attorney General Beatrice Marquez, Assistant Attorney General James Yoon, Assistant Attorney General Amber West Yang, and Legal Assistant Arlene Leventhal, all of the Antitrust Bureau under Eleanor's supervision, as well as Assistant Attorney General Hannah Beck, Assistant Attorney General Nathania Koss-Lin, Legal Assistant Shirley Wong, and Internet and Technology Analyst Joe Brown.
The issue,
New York Attorney General Letitia James.
I mean, they have a lot of money, and you know, it's something that the FTC fined Facebook $5 billion in 2019 for what they're calling privacy violations, and instituted some new oversight and restrictions on the business. That was the largest fine the agency has ever levied on a tech company. Although they got fined $5 billion, Facebook didn't even blink. It didn't have any apparent impact on their business whatsoever. Facebook is the largest social network with 2.7 billion users and a company with a market value of nearly $800 billion. Mark Zuckerberg is the world's 5th largest person and the most public face of big tech swag. So how is this going to go? He definitely has access, the company has access to be able to fight the government. It is very interesting. A lot of people think nothing's going to happen here. They've announced lawsuits against Trump, right? Against the NRA, what has become of these things? Nothing really. Nothing really. But it is hard to win in any antitrust lawsuit. And this one's not going to be any different. But as far as antitrust cases go, the government does have a strong case against Facebook. But, it is it's hard to really win these cases. So Facebook paid $1 billion for Instagram. Right? Right before the Instagram business went public, the stock went public, they made this deal early on. And at that time, Instagram had about 30 million users and wasn't producing any revenue. However, the user base that it had meant that it was just a matter of time before they were going to be able to really capitalize on those 30 million users and building. When Facebook bought WhatsApp, they did that for $19 billion. So Facebook's point is that we asked permission, we went through the process, we bought our competition, you at the FTC approved it. What is the problem? These lawsuits mark a very important turning point in the battle to get some control over the big tech monopolies and, reinvigorate antitrust enforcement. Antitrust, when you have just a handful of companies controlling the whole marketplace. That's what happens, or what is happening currently. And the government is trying to do something about it. I mean, predatory conduct is not something that anybody wants. You don't want that label. It's a very strong label. And I understand that the companies, whether it's Google, whether it's Apple, whether it's Facebook, don't want that label because it's a nasty label. But if the actions of said company are just that, what else are you gonna call it? Right? What else are you gonna call it if not that? So that is what they're dealing with, and what's gonna come of this? Do you think anything is gonna come of this? I don't know. I don't know. It is a very, very tough case. And the fact that you have so many states on the case, I mean, that helps it. But that does not guarantee any type of victory at all. Right? The end users, the American people, ultimately make the decision. But if a company, you would have supported it, but they're out of business because Facebook squashed it, that's what a lot of these companies are dealing with. Squashed by Facebook because they were said competition, potential competition for Facebook. Would you like it if there were more options? I mean, Facebook often says that. I mean, Twitter's an option, right? You can go to Twitter. But aside from Twitter, what else? Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, right? You have Snapchat, right? Not a lot by way of competition, right? If Netflix was the only game in town, well, at one time they were the only game in town. But if Netflix was the only game in town, they would be facing that. And sometimes they have, positioned themselves to be predatory. But you have a lot of other companies in the digital streaming marketplace. So it's kind of it's teeter-tottering, right? It's teeter-tottering. Facebook, I'm sure, is not worried about this case from the standpoint of they're not going to shut down Facebook tomorrow or anything like that. But I think that they are having one eye on this. And they're going to definitely try to position themselves as the victim. Well, the government is picking on us. Speaking of, so we're talking about being picked on. T.T. James, the Attorney General for New York, has also been focused on Donald Trump. And she has said that she is developing a long list of people she's going to be going after. But Donald Trump is on that list. She has developed a long list of actions that Trump has done that Biden is going to undo, according to her. Long list. She says that her office is preparing some legal actions for a Biden administration to quickly begin reversing. She says that we're preparing this list, and it is a long list. We have a team of individuals, again, working on reversing all of the bad regulations and laws that have been put forth. We will work with the Biden administration to ask them to file stays in a number of cases that are pending in the courts across this country. That is from New York Attorney General T.T. James. So Trump called her out by name during his 46-minute, ironically, Facebook video. Called her out by name. I guess he was still in his New York state of mind during his 46-minute speech. He called her out for investigating his organization, Trump Organization, which she has been doing that. So we talked about this lengthy diatribe that was shown on Facebook, Trump expressing his concerns about various fraud investigations launched by the James office. Investigations take time, but it was also by other prosecutors in New York that he will have to confront. He's getting out of office. He's on the clock. And I think that T.T. James has cases ready. You know how in Denzel Washington in Training Day said, I'm putting cases on all you, all you Trump cases. Yeah, that's what James is saying. She got cases for all of them. But James was the only New York prosecutor that Trump called out by name as the AG investigates his company over claims that he falsified his assets to ascertain illegal tax breaks and loans. So T.T. James said in response to Trump, as the independently elected Attorney General of New York, I have sworn a duty to protect and uphold state law. Unlike the president and the unfounded accusations he hurled today, we are guided by the facts and the law, and the politics stop at the door. Period, she said. When Donald Trump's term is complete, he could also face lawsuits and challenges from Manhattan District Attorney, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, and other prosecutors for fraud. These are allegations that have been spanning a decade. So all you Trump supporters understand the legal road. He's going to be asking for a lot more money because this road is going to be one that is littered with litigation. T.T. James vowed to continue investigating Donald Trump and his companies despite the president's protests. going to see how that goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire. Of course, you miss any episodes of this program or any of our other shows, you can log on to radioonfire.com. However you're seeing or hearing this broadcast, do that. So also, join Radio on Fire for the Jingle Jam Christmas night, December 25th, 6 p.m. here on radioonfire.com, also on all social media. This is a virtual concert and a Georgia runoff voting rally. Will be hosted by yours truly, Diamond K, also Jay Jackson. We're going to have performances from Mully Man, Nick Styles, Ray Lavender, and others. Also going to be guest speakers and words of encouragement for Georgia voters in this very important Senate runoff. Remember, Georgia, your vote still matters. So this is going to be taking place, as I said, Christmas night, 6 p.m., Radio on Fire, and all of our social channels. Let's do this. Take a quick break. We'll be back with more news, more of the program after this.